You're listening to Real Estate Tips and Tricks with Aaron Adams here on News Talk 1430 WXNT. And we were discussing the journey, my journey and my company's journey from California to Indianapolis. And I was discussing how I had purchased about 60 properties between 2000 and 2004 and made just over $1 million from those properties, and got really nervous about reinvesting in that California real estate market. Real estate prices in some areas in that time between 2000 and 2004 were appreciating from 4 to 6% a month. Imagine with your property or with a property what that translates to. So if you bought a house for $100,000 in 2002 and it was appreciating 6% a month, that same house would be worth $160,000, $170,000, $180,000 by the end of 2002. Those are numbers that are crazy when you think about the Indianapolis market. Now, what's really ironic is properties that were worth $100,000 and $2,000 in California had jumped all the way to $350,000 or $400,000 by 2006, and now have dropped back down to $110,000, $120,000. Over the last 12 years, there's been a giant roller coaster in that California real estate market. In real estate, in the industry, that's described as a non-linear market. And I'm sure if you think around the country and other areas that you personally know or have read about that go up and down, then you could probably, some of those markets probably pop into your mind. Areas like Las Vegas is a non-linear market. Areas like Phoenix, Texas tends to be a non-linear market. Dallas is a non-linear real estate market. New York City, and here close to home, even Chicago is largely considered to be a non-linear real estate market. And by that I mean they swing up and down in value. And so the way to make money in those markets is to buy when they're down and flip those properties or sell those properties as they jump up in value. Now, for me, being a high school teacher and a newbie to real estate investing back in 2000, I ended up being really lucky. I was lucky that I was able to buy my first few properties at the beginning of that huge run-up. But by 2004, I had learned and I had started to study these types of trends like linear and nonlinear markets. And I realized that if you sell your properties at the top of the market, which I had done, or very close to the top of the market, you have two options. You either go and you find another low or another nonlinear market that's at the bottom, and at that point I couldn't identify any market that was in that situation, or you buy in a completely different type of market, a linear market. Well, what's a linear real estate market? Well, Indianapolis is probably one of the best examples of what a linear real estate market is. And by that I mean it tends to never take a huge run-up in value or take a huge drop-off in value. For the most part, the market stably appreciates 1%, 2%, 3% a year. And that's really what Indianapolis has done. Have there been foreclosures in this market? Sure. Because there was a lot of people that were able to qualify for loans when they were given money away that had no business qualifying for those loans. I remember hearing of people making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year who were magically able to qualify for a $300,000 house. And there was huge amounts of problems in this country with mortgages and with mortgage fraud and with people getting loans they had no business getting into. But for the most part, Indianapolis never really ran up in value. Now, there's several factors that define linear and nonlinear markets. For example, one of them happens to be geography. If you think about Southern California, which is a prime nonlinear market, there really isn't a lot of available space to build more houses. Think of, for example, Orange County. Many of you have been to Disneyland, and you know that area. There are no vacant lots. There is no place to expand. Compare that to Indianapolis, a linear market, where you could go 20 minutes outside of town and find farms that county would be happy to let you develop into a housing project. So there tends to be, anytime you start to get a slight run-up in value in Indianapolis, what tends to happen is they develop more and build more houses, and that stabilizes the pricing. So these are the types of things that I studied and I was learning about, and made me say, you know what, I gotta protect this money. A lot of the way that I was able to make it in California was getting in when that market was making a huge run up and selling it. But as I learned these techniques to buy properties and to sell properties and to make money from real estate, I learned that I needed to be smart and I needed to be savvy. And after speaking with my father, who's from Indianapolis and grew up on the east side, and his whole family continues, for the most part, to live on the east side of Indianapolis, I made the decision in 2004 to come back to Indianapolis. Now, it's always interesting to me, and it was really interesting at the time, the kind of reaction that I got from people in California when I said I was moving to Indiana. They asked me if they were filming a sequel to Hoosiers. They asked me what a Hoosier was. They asked me if I was going to be moving to the middle of a cornfield. Those of you who have traveled know that sometimes the negative perception of Indy, or the perception is a negative one, that Indiana is a bunch of country bumpkins. And those of us who live here know that it's anything but. Our offices are actually located in Fountain Square, which is just a mile southeast of downtown. In a historic area. Our website is invest317.com, and if you have questions or want to get in touch with me, you can call our number at 866-612-0346. Now, I've actually lived downtown pretty much since I relocated here, and I love Indianapolis. It's an amazing city. In fact, we bring investors here from all over the country on every month or two to see this market and to buy properties from us. And we currently sell 20 to 30 properties to investors all over the country. And it's going back to that response that people that I knew on the West Coast had about this market, I kind of laughed, because I had learned how to identify real estate markets. And I had learned that a lot of the reason why I was making money previously was because of just a run-up in appreciation and a run-up in values. And I had also learned that Indianapolis is one of the best, if not the best, cash flow property market in the country. What I decided to do was to buy those little $30,000, $40,000, and $50,000 houses, rent them out for $600, $700, and $800 a month, and translate that $1 million into $100,000 to $200,000 a year in rental income. And if you think about it, there's really two main ways that most of us are familiar with to make money from real estate. You can buy a house and you can rent it out and collect the rent every month. Or you can buy a house and you can fix it up or throw it on the market and hope to sell it for more than what you purchased it for. The way that I had made my first million was largely by buying them, fixing them, and flipping them. And the way that we've made the millions since then has been buying them, renting them, holding them, or selling them to other investors who want to rent them and hold them. And those have been the properties that we get the most attention for. A lot of you also don't realize it, but there are investors right now that are swooping properties from this Indianapolis market. I went to the Marion County Surplus Auction on Thursday, and it's held in the same room where the city council meetings are held. A lot of you have seen that room downtown at the city county building. And they had over 600 people try to squeeze into that room to buy county surplus properties, tax properties. A lot of the people trying to buy those properties are investors that represent big funds and big pools of capital, and all they wanted to do was buy as many properties as they could to fix those up and rent them out and hold on to them. They get that. Right now, we manage properties for investors from everywhere from Southeast Asia to Australia to Canada. So not only are there investors in nonlinear markets like California who are buying properties here in Indianapolis, but there's also investors all over the world. Now, one of the biggest factors and one of the biggest reasons that investors like Indianapolis is because it is the most affordable housing and has been the most affordable housing in the country for years. Now, what do I mean by affordable housing? Well, if you compare the median home price to the median income that people make here, the median home price for housing here in Indianapolis is just over $100,000. It's $102,000. Okay. Like I mentioned earlier, we tend to focus on the $50,000, $60,000, $40,000 houses. And many of you know, as you get out into the suburbs, get up to the north side, get out to Guys, to get to Meridian Kessler, home values are in the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 plus $1,000 range. But the median home price tends to be right at $102,000 here in Indianapolis. Now, are there other areas of the country with lower median home prices? Yes, there are. But when you compare median home price to median income, Indianapolis is number one in that relationship in the country. The median income here in the Indy metro area is $66,900. And when you look at what people are making and what homes cost, then they draw a relationship to that, and that's called an affordability score. And Indianapolis has the highest affordability score at 95.8%. That relationship is really the heart of why this is such a hot market, and why investors from all over the world are buying cash flow properties in Indianapolis, and why many of you never realized that before. And when we come back, we're going to discuss, and I'm going to explain to you in more detail about this Indianapolis market, why investors want to buy here, and how you can take advantage of that using your retirement and using money that you have but you may not thought you could tap into. You can get more information from us and get in touch with me directly through invest317.com. That's INVEST 317.com. You can also call our number at 866-612-0346. We do free get-togethers at least once, sometimes twice a month, and it's a chance to network with you here locally. You're listening to News Talk 1430 WXNT. My name is Aaron Adams, and this is Real Estate Tips and Tricks with Aaron Adams.